to Pyongyang to meet a dictator unless the deal has already been arranged. Don't buy this liberal spin that somehow Bill Clinton sweet-talked Kim Jong-il into releasing those two journalists. He didn't. This was done through the back door and through back channels. What did the Obama administration promise Kim Jong-il? That is the question. This is Jeff Kuhner filling in for Michael Savage on the Savage Nation.
Hi, we are Armstrong and Getty. We're on every weekday morning from 6 to 10.
He is a national treasure. He is Dr. Savage on Talk 910 KNEW.
We're back on the Savage Nation. This is Jeff Kuhner from the Washington Times, filling in for the living legend, the world heavyweight talk radio champion, Michael Savage. I want to hear from all of you. Did Bill Clinton do the right thing in going to Pyongyang and helping to negotiate the release of the two American journalists? 1-800-449-8255. Before I get to the calls, I just want to make a couple of very quick points. One, and I think most importantly, there's no getting around this fact. This is why I believe that the Clinton mission to North Korea will be a disaster when everything is said and done, is that by going there, Bill Clinton has inadvertently propped up Kim Jong-il's regime. Remember, this is a man who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. This is a man who had suffered a stroke last year. He was on the decline. He was clearly, his ascendancy was no longer very clear. He was now in decline. His powers were ebbing. Many people around him were slowly gathering more and more power, and there in fact was even talk about internal regime change. Now, yes, it would still be a communist regime, but there was considerable talk that it would be much less totalitarian, much less brutal, much less sadistic, frankly more sane. Now what this trip has done is it has propped him up, and it has now given him the kind of power, cachet, and legitimacy that he has been looking for. This now strengthens Kim Jong-il. He can now turn to his generals and his fellow communists in the Politburo and say, look what I have done. I have brought the Americans to us. They sent their former president, Bill Clinton, to negotiate with me one-on-one, to ask me for my permission to allow these two journalists to be released. And more than that, I have wrung concessions out of the Americans. Barack Obama is no George Bush. Barack Obama is no longer following a policy of containment. He now wants to appease me. And this strengthens Kim Jong-il immeasurably. What Bill Clinton essentially did was he consigned millions of North Koreans to further slavery, further starvation, and further brutality and imprisonment. And this is why I believe that in the annals of history, this will be seen as a great betrayal. Secondly, and there's no getting around this point, clearly what you saw here, and I think Michael has made this point very eloquently, was a diplomatic offensive by both Hillary and Bill Clinton to undermine Obama. And you have been seeing that now increasingly. I can tell you this, the people in the Clinton camp have been talking to journalists in this city, myself included, and they are now bad-mouthing Obama at every turn. They believe he is weak on Russia. They do not like his Middle East policy. They certainly disagree with his decision to basically publicly state that he will not allow Israel to bomb Iran. And now I believe that they are now freeing these two journalists to upstage Barack Obama and to show that they are still a relevant, powerful force within the Democratic Party. What Hillary Clinton is angling for is this. She wants Barack Obama to lose in 2012 so he can't groom his own successor, and then to run in 2016 and the Clintons can come back. Because I can tell you this, because I've spoken to very high-level people very close to Hillary Clinton. Take this to the bank. The Clintons are seething over the defeat in 2008 in the Democratic primary. They have never forgiven Barack Obama for snatching the Democratic crown, and they believe the presidency from their hands. And they are plotting to undermine him at every turn. And it is very clear to me that this move by Bill Clinton is a sign, it is a clear sign to the world and to the American people that the Clintons still matter, the Clintons still have clout, and they are a force to be reckoned with in the Democratic Party. Let's get to the phone lines. Let's go to Phil in Sacramento. Phil, you're on the Savage Nation.
Thank you. You just stole my thunder. I was going to point out the fact that I think this was a concerted effort on Hillary and Bill's part to snatch the presidency from Obama down the road. I think that they want to see him fail as well. And I disagree with your other caller previously. I think that this is a total fiasco and does strengthen Kim Jong-il. This guy's a nut. He's a pervert. He's a whiskey-holic. He loves to import women for his own pleasure, and he's a sick, twisted mind, and they've done nothing but legitimize this guy by going over there. Not only that, they've legitimized him in the eyes of China, who I think is basically pulling his strings.
Exactly. No, you nailed it. I mean, Phil, look, this is an open secret here in Washington. If China wanted his regime to fall, they could literally turn off the gas and the energy supplies. Energy, oil, and food is what China gives North Korea. They turn off the tap, that regime collapses literally within 24 hours. So China is backing North Korea, and they love the fact that North Korea is a thorn on our side and that North Korea has been arming, aiding, and abetting Iran, Russia, Venezuela, Hamas, and Hezbollah. Every one of our enemies, North Korea has been helping. By going there, Bill Clinton has propped up this criminal, sadistic regime. And I have to say, you know, I got to tell you, one of the things about working in Washington, I get to meet a lot of foreign leaders. And I get in particular to meet a lot of people, a lot of leaders from Africa. And I got to say, they're tin pot dictators and they're absolute moral degenerates. But nobody can tops the cake like Kim Jong-il. I mean, this guy, he imports Johnny Black whiskey. You say he imports women? No. He imports Swedish women. He has a fetish for Swedish women. Pyongyang is closed off to the entire world. But twice a week, I kid you not, there is Stockholm, Pyongyang, there is a direct flight. And it is filled with Swedish prostitutes and escort girls. That's all this guy wants to sleep with. And he is impoverishing his own people as he literally feasts every night on Russian caviar and champagne and having orgies with Swedish women. That's the kind of guy Kim Jong-il. And I got to be honest with you. I'm being very frank. Maybe that's why he and Bill got along so well. They could sit around and, hey, you like Swedish girls? I like Swedish girls. We got something in common. Although I think you like them tall and skinny, Kim. I like mine, frankly, a little more on the chunky side. You remember Monica Lewinsky, right? So, they must have had a lot of good things to banter about. But in all seriousness, this guy, this trip was a major sellout of American national interests, and I believe it's going to hurt the United States for years to come. Let's go to Ashok in San Francisco. Ashok, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Okay, so thanks for taking my call. I do that Bill Clinton did the right thing because there was no bloodshed, nothing on the surface was harm, and we got 2 people back to the U.S. I see this no different than any negotiations made by past presidents, both Republican and Democrat. For example, the Iran-Contra affair, the U.S. helping Nicaraguans out. I don't see any difference in this. Absolutely. And
Ashok, listen, you're throwing a lot of things in there. Look, the Iran-Contra affair, here we were arming, funding, and supporting anti-communist freedom fighters against a brutal totalitarian Marxist regime. What we have done here is the very opposite. By Bill Clinton going there, by doing such a high-profile trip, he has now literally resuscitated and resurrected Kim Jong-il. And when you say no blood was shed, you're completely wrong. Blood has been shed. It's the blood that is rotting in North Korean prisons and gulags and slave labor camps all across that country. And by keeping him in power and by helping to perpetuate him in power, we have sold those people down the river. Now listen, don't get me wrong. I am extremely happy these two journalists are home. They are Americans. But let me tell you how badly we've fallen. Just imagine 100 years ago. Can you imagine if any other country dared to kidnap our citizens? Do you know what Theodore Roosevelt would have done? He would have sent the American Army. He would have sent the American Navy. He would have said, I'm giving you 48 hours. You release them, and you better make sure there's not a hair on their head that's touched, or else I'm going to decimate you. And instead, we go there, pleading, groveling, begging. And here's my question to everybody that's supporting this big initiative. Why did the president have to go there? Why did he have to go and meet him in private? Why did he have to give him such a major photo op? Why did he have to meet North Korea's top nuclear negotiator? Why is it that the North Koreans are bragging